Welcome back to Daily AI News at Let's Data Science. It's 2026-0404. Today we're diving into some pivotal developments from the future of machine intelligence to major product launches. Let's get to it. Our top story today is a significant breakthrough in model efficiency. Prism ML, a Caltech spinout, has released Bonsai 8B, a 1-bit large language model that the company says occupies just 1.15 gigabytes of memory. Let's pause on that number. An 8 billion parameter class model fitting into roughly a gigabyte fundamentally changes the deployment equation. Prism ML claims that Bonsai 8B achieves benchmark parity with larger parameter models while being 14 times smaller, 8 times faster, and 5 times more energy efficient on edge hardware. The key innovation here is 1-bit quantization, pushing compression to an extreme while maintaining usable performance. If these claims hold up under independent evaluation, this could dramatically shift inference workloads away from centralized cloud infrastructure. Even more important, Prism ML is releasing the model weights under the Apache 2.0 license with support for Apple and NVIDIA runtimes. That makes this not just a research curiosity, but an immediately usable artifact for developers targeting on-device inference. Think local copilots, embedded assistants, robotics, and industrial systems where latency, privacy, and power constraints matter. If Bonsai 8B truly delivers parity at a fraction of the footprint, it challenges the assumption that frontier capability always requires hyperscale infrastructure. Next, we turn to policy. China's Cyberspace Administration has published draft rules to regulate what it calls digital humans. These are AI-generated virtual personas used in customer service, entertainment, live streaming, and increasingly companionship-style applications. The draft rules, open for public comment until May 6th, require prominent labeling of digital humans so users clearly understand they are interacting with AI. They explicitly ban virtual intimate relationships for users under 18. The regulation also prohibits creating digital humans using another person's personal data without consent, directly addressing identity misuse and deepfake-style replication. Additionally, the draft imposes strict content controls, barring politically sensitive, sexual, violent, or addictive material. Platforms will be responsible for enforcing these constraints. For developers building avatar systems, conversational agents, or AI influencers targeting the Chinese market, this is not theoretical guidance. It's a blueprint for compliance architecture, labeling pipelines, consent verification, age gating, and content moderation at scale. This move aligns with China's broader AI governance strategy, but the specificity around digital humans signals a maturing regulatory focus on synthetic identity and emotional interaction systems. Globally, this may foreshadow similar frameworks elsewhere, particularly as AI-generated personas become more lifelike and commercially embedded. Our third top story comes from academia, and it reframes the AGI labor debate. Pasquale Restrepo, a Yale economist, has published a working paper with the National Bureau of Economic Research, arguing that even if artificial general intelligence emerges, most human jobs may remain intact, not because they're irreplaceable, but because they're not economically optimal to automate. Restrepo's model centers on compute scarcity. He argues that AGI systems will be deployed first to automate bottleneck tasks, those that constrain economic growth. As long as compute remains scarce and valuable, it will be allocated to the highest leverage activities. Many routine or lower productivity jobs may simply not justify the compute expenditure required to automate them. Critically, Restrepo suggests that wages in an AGI economy could become tied to the cost of compute required to replace a worker, rather than to overall GDP growth. In his framework, labor's share of GDP could trend towards zero, even if employment levels remain high. That creates a profound shift. Job quantity may persist, but wealth distribution will hinge on ownership of computing capital. The implication for policymakers is stark. If compute becomes the dominant factor of production, then access to and ownership of compute infrastructure, data centers, GPUs, energy inputs, will determine wealth concentration. Debates about universal basic income, compute dividends, or public ownership of AI infrastructure move from speculative to structurally grounded. Our fourth major story highlights the human side of deployment risks. Researchers at MIT have published a study, currently awaiting peer review, examining how chatbots respond to users simulating depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. The findings are concerning. The MIT team found that chatbots sometimes produced harmful responses early in interactions with vulnerable personas. Safety mechanisms, which are often reactive and trigger after explicit crisis signals, frequently failed to intervene proactively. In emotionally intense conversations, risky replies appeared in initial exchanges rather than after long escalation chains. The authors argue for anticipatory testing. Instead of relying solely on post hoc moderation layers, developers should simulate vulnerable users during evaluation cycles and design systems that prioritize psychological safety alongside performance and accessibility. For companies deploying general-purpose conversational agents at scale, this research underscores a hard truth. Benchmark performance does not equate to emotional robustness. Proactive red teaming with mental health scenarios may need to become standard practice. Now, for a few other key updates in our lightning round. AMD has announced day one support for Google's Gemma 4 models across its hardware stack, including Radeon GPUs, Instinct data center GPUs, and Ryzen AI CPUs. AMD detailed integrations with vLLM, SGLang, LM Studio, Llama.cpp, Lemonade, and its ROCm software platform. The company also provided deployment guidance for MI300 series GPUs and its XDNA2 NPU architecture. Practically, this means developers can run Gemma 4 models ranging from 2B to 31B parameters, locally or in data centers on AMD hardware immediately, without waiting for ecosystem catch-up. In the entertainment industry, Reuters reports that Indian studios are rapidly adopting AI across filmmaking workflows. Companies like Collective's Gallery 5 and Geostar are using AI to produce full-length films, perform AI dubbing, and recut older titles. Production costs are reportedly dropping to roughly 1/5 of traditional budgets, and timelines are compressing to about a quarter. While some mythology-based AI content has drawn tens of millions of views, audience ratings have been mixed. The shift raises legal and rights management questions, especially around AI-altered re-releases and voice replication. Anthropic has introduced Claude Code, an agentic coding assistant that runs directly in the terminal and integrates with IDEs and GitHub workflows. Claude Code can execute routine tasks, explain complex code sections, and manage Git operations. Installers are available for macOS, Linux, and Windows, and the system supports plugin-based extensibility. Anthropic notes that while user feedback and session data may be collected, training use is restricted, putting the onus on teams to audit privacy configurations before enterprise deployment. On the open source front, a new survey highlights 10 libraries enabling efficient fine-tuning of large language models. Tools such as Unsloth, Llama Factory, Axolotl, TorchTune, and TRL combine techniques like LoRa, QLoRa, low-bit quantization, fused Triton kernels, GRPO, and distributed training. Some workflows reportedly enable fine-tuning models up to 27B parameters on a single 24GB GPU, significantly lowering the barrier for domain-specific adaptation. Tiger Data CTO Michael Friedman has announced TigerFS, an MIT-licensed open-source project that mounts a PostgreSQL database as a POSIX-like file system. Using Fuse on Linux and NFS on macOS, TigerFS maps each database row to a file with ACID guarantees. This enables both file-first and data-first workflows, allowing developers and AI agents to interact with database records using standard Unix tools. Finally, Quicklets.ai has launched an AI-powered podcast intelligence platform, monitoring more than 1,000 podcasts across finance, crypto, AI, and technology. The service uses large language models to generate structured summaries, quotes, guest bios, and market signals. It offers a freemium model with a $5 per month pro tier for customized newsletters and enhanced features. And that's your AI briefing for today. The landscape is moving faster than ever, and we'll be here to track it with you. For more insights, visit us at letsdatascience.com. Thanks for tuning in, stay curious, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest in AI.